Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Film Force podcast, a platform where we bring on photographers, videographers, and content creators from all across the industry to share their unique insights and perspectives. Whether you're just getting started or have years of experience, there's always something to take away to sharpen your skill set and succeed in your creative journeys, because we are all doing different things. We're all on different creative journeys, and this is a platform for people to learn. That's the value-driven content is what we're trying to get at here. For those who don't know me, my name is Tony. I'm a New York-based videographer specializing in automotive, but I branched off a lot into fitness, lifestyle, music, business growth content, kind of just getting every single job I can right now while I'm young. And I thought that this would be a great platform to get some, like-minded people to, learn and grow together, because we're all growing, like I said. So for our guest today, we have Ben Hargreaves, a professional automotive photographer and content creator. Say hello, Ben.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for having me, Tony. And I really love that overview, that little intro you did, learning a bit about you. And it sounds amazing, everything you're doing with this show. So I'm excited to be here.
Yep. And you're based in Australia, is that correct?
Yeah, Melbourne, Australia. Yep. Based out of here. It's good.
So
Opposite time zones today.
Yeah, we're about 14 hours apart, right? Something like that.
So we're making it work. It's 10 a.m. here, 8 p.m. for you.
Yep, 8 p.m. Yep. That's awesome. I was glad we were able to make it work regardless. And honestly, it was a pretty quick turnaround, so I appreciate that. We got this episode going, and
no
we
problem.
have a lot of good talking points to get into. So I just wanted to ask you, Ben, how many years have you been into photography so far?
So far, I've been shooting photos for just over 2.5 years, I think. I started in February of 2022, and I was kind of stuck in this 9-to-5 job that I hated, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit. And I kind of recognized that I had this sort of feeling that the life that I'd built for myself didn't feel like my own. And I kind of felt like I had just been going through life doing what everyone else told me to do instead of what I actually wanted to do. So at the ripe old age of 29, I kind of made the decision to start photography and just see where it would take me, all while working the 9-to-5 job. And then, over the last couple of years, it's kind of grown to this thing, which is a lot bigger than I ever could have possibly imagined that it would ever get to. And it's now something that I'm very grateful and privileged to be able to say it's my full-time job now, shooting cars and traveling and making content, both in Australia but also around the world as well, which is awesome. It's the life that I dreamed of, sitting at my desk at the 9-to-5. So man, it's awesome.
Yeah, honestly, Ben, I admired you for a minute, and I actually found you on Reels, and I'm sure as many other people have with your POV content. I feel like that's almost like a signature of yours, where you have the GoPro on the hat and you're doing all these POV while providing tips. And I honestly think, from a content perspective, right, you can get a lot of loyal followers from that, because it shows, number one, you're on-site shooting, so you have that credibility, but number two, you're providing value at the same time.
For sure. It's all about building trust, rapport, and authenticity with people. And when you put yourself out there on social media and you're willing to just be yourself and be authentically you, then amazing things start to happen. And I think this POV format that I landed on, it's obviously not unique to me, but it enabled me to, right from day one, with a little bit of practice and getting used to strapping a GoPro to myself, that took a little while to get used to. But once I'd warmed into that and started having the ability to speak, and then after that, not just speaking, but then forgetting the GoPro was even there and just pretending like the people that were watching my content were just with me on the shoot, and they're just like my mates and we're just shooting together and hanging out. But obviously I was heavily inspired by people like North Borders, Mike, people like Optical Wonder, Seventh Era, all of these people. When I was sitting there watching these guys while working my 9-to-5 job, living this life that I wanted to have and doing what I wanted to do, they were doing it all on YouTube, long form YouTube first. But for me, initially starting out, YouTube is such a scary platform for me, YouTube long form, and still to this day sort of is. I've only posted 2 long form YouTube videos to date. So I'm still trying to get myself into that space. But it was this very intimidating thing doing YouTube long form. I wanted to be a photographer. YouTube was too scary. So I decided, hey, what if I just rotate the GoPro vertically and start filming vertical POV? And that was probably back in June of 2022. So I'd been shooting for a few months. And then that's when I decided, hey, let's go vertical. And then probably a few more months after that, I then decided to go from the chest mount up to the cap mount. And then that's when, the quality just started getting even better with the content. And I think initially, man, that was a lot of the draw card for my content initially. Just that shock factor of, oh, where's this camera? How is that guy filming that? How is the quality so good? It's like 4K, it's sharp. It's like, how is he filming all this? And then they stayed around long enough on the content to realize that I've got a bit of a message to share. I've got tips to share. I've got advice to share. And yeah, I think it was just this kind of perfect storm.
Yeah, honestly, blown away by like that whole kind of journey that you just said. And also, regards to the YouTube videos, those did pretty well, right? Those two. I think one had like 400K views.
Absolutely, yeah. The first one I posted sitting at 100K views, and then the second one I posted sitting at about 400K, yeah. So the appetite's there. It's just a case of getting that, I guess, getting out of my own way. Like, I'm not going to sit here and just throw excuses out at you. I'm going to hold myself accountable and be like, look, it's coming down to me not putting the work in on YouTube long form to put those pieces of content out. And the crazy thing is I've actually been shooting horizontal and vertical POV, GoPro chest mount, and the quick clip since March last year. I've been shooting. So every single shoot that I've done for over the last year and a half, I have horizontal POV footage to cut together into long form videos, but I haven't done it. So
that's gotta be some, like, I feel like after a while, right? Especially for the head, because I have a DJI Action 3, and I got this like clip mount for my cap, similar to how like your profile pic is, where you have it on the cap. The neck kind of hurts after a little bit. Do you experience that at all?
Absolutely. I got used to it though. So for probably, the first 12 months of shooting, vertical content on the cap, I was getting like headaches basically every shoot after about 10, 15 minutes. And it was just constant throughout the entire shoot, just headaches. But I don't know if I've done some damage to myself or what, but I'm used to it now. So
well, you built the tolerance, so I guess that's all that matters. You can keep pumping out the content, right?
Exactly, man. And that's it, because, posting, I realized initially that if I wanted to make photography and content creation my full-time job and quit my 9 to 5, the only way to do that was with volume, because I didn't have the skill set. I didn't have the skills built, to a point that it was good enough for me to make a living out of this thing. So I did this thing that just came perfectly naturally to me, which was just to start to document the process and just try and post every day. So initially I started posting 3 times a week. Then I moved up to 6 times a week, posting twice on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I started posting every single day. And then it got to a point, October 2022, where I made the decision to cut all the excuses, cut the rubbish, and just send it and go twice a day every single day. So that was like back in October 2022. So nearly 2 years ago. And I've just been pumping it since then. And that was when I saw the biggest exponential growth in not only the social media metrics and all those sort of things that I call ego metrics, because I tend to just focus on the number of posts and the input that I do, because that's all I can control as a creative. So the ego metrics boosted up, but also then the change exponentially in my photography skills developing was insane. All of a sudden I was so much more confident, so much more comfortable, and so much more ready that when those paid opportunities to do freelance work did come my way, I was way more prepared. I was ready, and people could see, because I was documenting the process, that I had the skills. So it was just it was this win-win scenario. So that's what I recommend to everyone out there.
Yeah, and honestly, you harp on a lot about the whole 9 to 5, quitting it and doing the content creation and all the intricacies in that process. And that's kind of what I wanted to delve into next. What
Yeah,
was
sure.
sort of the process of, was it like a realization at your job where you were just like, was it a moment where you're like, I just have to just totally put this to the side, go and pursue my passion? Like, walk me through that process.
It was definitely a lot more progressive than people might think. You know, it probably took me 2 years of just starting to feel like my life was a bit weird, and the position I'd found myself in when I was 27 was like a little bit strange, not what I expected, not the life that I thought I'd been sold into by school and lecturers and, you know, society. So but the ultimate sort of crux of the issue all came to a head when COVID hit. Because for the first time ever, I could actually sit down and stop. I was forced to sit down and stop and reflect on my life, as I know lots of people did, because all of a sudden we had all this time. We couldn't do the things that we usually do. We couldn't do the things that we usually do to cope with the stresses and pressures of day-to-day life. We couldn't do things that brought us joy, that recharged us after going to work to a crap job that we hated. And I was forced to just sit there and go, yeah, this is not what I expected. Like finishing high school, choosing what I thought I wanted to do as a career at 17 years old. I chose to do industrial design, going to uni for 8 years. And then by the time I made it through that entire process, I was kind of done with design. You know, the process of studying it ended up tiring me out of it. Like I was done. So anytime someone talks to me now in the photography space going, hey, should I go to university and study photography? Should I do this? Should I do that? Go to university to study it? I'm like, no, please just pick up a camera and start shooting. Because if you go to university, you might learn some great things. You might learn some amazing things, but you also run the risk of making it through that very flawed place. The university system is quite flawed. Having worked in a university for 6 years, I've seen both student perspective and staff perspective. It's a very flawed place to be. It's a very fake and make-believe place to be. And in my experience, I tried to get a job in my passion, which was design, and ultimately university ruined that passion for me. So I protected, as soon as I discovered photography, I protected it so much. I was like, this is my passion. I'm going to make sure it stays that way. And that's what I encourage everyone to do as well. So yeah, man, it was this process of that self-discovery in 2020, realizing that, hey, I think I want to go and be my own boss. I think I want to do my own thing. And I started getting interested in entrepreneurship. And I started watching a lot of YouTube videos about investing and about different side hustles, and about how to get better with my finances and all this sort of stuff to try and free myself from the 9 to 5, to build up enough of a savings buffer and enough of an investment portfolio to just give me some breathing room to think about what life could be outside of the job. And initially, the first venture that I tried was drop shipping. You know, that was something that I discovered through, the classic one, going through the YouTube rabbit hole. But I decided to do drop shipping in something that I knew a lot about. So I'm a huge fan of tech and desk setups. I absolutely love building out my space here. I love helping friends spec up their spaces and giving friends and family advice about different tech to buy and keeping up to speed with all that. So my drop shipping company was always, or business was always from the outset designed to be a personal brand for myself. And I called it Studio Atrium. So it's still up on Instagram. Studio Atrium HQ is like this drop shipping Instagram that I started. Don't look it up, please. But it is there, and it's just like this little thing to remind me of that first thing that I tried. It was the first business I'd ever started, you know, after being locked into being an employee for so many years. And yeah, basically it was all about bringing nature indoors, the principles of biophilic design, because that's what I did my thesis about at uni. So biophilic design means bringing nature into interior spaces so that it can improve our mental and physical well-being. That's what I kind of decided to write my design thesis about in my final year at uni. And Studio Atrium was building upon all that knowledge that I had. So how could I infuse drop shipping into this by selling different desk setup products and tech products and kind of like natural sort of products that can help people build out a really nice space. And I set out an entire business plan, step by step, of what I was going to do. Okay, post as a theme page until you hit 1,000 followers. And then once you hit 1,000 followers, then start to introduce some of your own content, then start to add in some drop shipping products here and there, then get to 10,000 followers, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately I stepped it out so far that I was like, all right, when I get to 100,000 followers, I'm going to have my own co-working space called Studio Atrium HQ, and it's going to be all set up and beautiful. I'm going to have my own cafe. Like, that's how far I kind of went with it. But ultimately, I tried it for about 6 months, and I was just like, you know what? This is just not hitting like I thought it would. So I went back to the drawing board, and that's what I say to everyone. If you don't know what you like to do, just try stuff. Because when you try things, at least you know that when you don't like something, to move on to the next thing. And that's what I did. And I always had this very natural inkling, this natural draw towards photography. Like, I became the photographer in my friendship group. Anytime we wanted to take photos, anytime we wanted to shoot videos or whatever, my friends were always like, Ben, take a photo of this. Ben, take a photo of us. Take a photo of this, do that. And that was kind of like my position in our friendship group. So it was strange. I think studying design and learning about the design principles and elements and balance and symmetry and all of this stuff stood me in good stead for learning about framing and composition and all of that sort of stuff to do with photography. So yeah, man, I had this natural inkling to it. Towards the Christmas and New Year period of 2020 and 2021, I decided that I wanted to start shooting more photos, but I still didn't have a camera at this point, still just using my phone. And I decided to, try and post a little bit on my personal social media at the time. But when January rolled around and inevitably my 9-to-5 job started up again, I parked photography and parked making little videos and photos on Instagram and forgot about it for the next 12 months because the stress and the pressure of work was just too much. So I forgot about photography. And then, fast forward end of 2021, the same thing happened. I stopped work for Christmas and New Year and I started taking photos very naturally. And then once again, I packed it in a box, 2021, and it wasn't until, the start of 2022 that I decided that, I recognized this thing that I have this natural pull towards photography and wanting to create content and wanting to share things on social media. So I bought my first camera, my Sony a6400, which is sitting right here. I will never sell this.
Best beginner camera.
Yeah, so good, this thing. And that basically took me all the way through until, over 500,000 followers on YouTube, on Instagram, over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, good freelance work, my first retainer client, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, the rest is history from there, man. So it's been a relatively short journey. I've still got nowhere near the pedigree of someone like an Alex Penfold or a North Borders or whatever. These guys have been doing it for decades, like a decade. But yeah, I just love it. Like, it's just my favorite thing to do in the entire world. It's all I want to do is shoot photos, make little POV videos, make more cinematic videos, and just post. So
Well, that's awesome.
the very long-winded story, but there you go.
No, I honestly resonate with a lot of things you said. I'm actually a senior in college right now.
Yep.
And I'm studying marketing. So I was a film production major
Yep.
my freshman year. But I don't know, I didn't see any value in it because I was like, I could just kind of learn this stuff like by using cameras and doing
Literally.
work on the side. So I ditched that. I was like, marketing might be a little safer, right, to do. So I chose marketing. But the thing is, Ben, I'm just like, I don't want to go to class. I'm doing editing in class. I'm literally the whole day, class is just an obstacle at this point, but I'm like, I have to finish it now. I'm a senior, right?
Yeah.
It's like a slow crawl to graduation at this point in May now. So
Yeah.
it's rough.
Well, I'll
but,
make sure I send you a message to congratulate you when you get across the line, dude, because you resonate with my story and I very much resonate with your story, with everything you just said. Because when I was in my final year of uni, I did not want to be there anymore, dude. I wanted out. I was so done, but you get so close to the end, you've racked up so much debt that you just have to finish. You just have to push through and you just have to finish. And that's not how education should feel. It shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't feel tired and done and just completely spent. But that's what this tertiary education system does to people when, at least in my experience, they pack my degree full of pencil-pushing PhD idiots with no industry experience teaching me about design. And I'm like, when did you last do a paid project for a client? Like 1977? Yeah. Like, you're just spewing the same rubbish. So that's when I got the job at, in my 9-to-5 job, it took me a couple of years, but I found my way into lecturing. And I was lecturing into a Masters of Food Science and Agribusiness, doing a unit all about innovation, consumer behaviours and food marketing. And with my background in industrial design, I was teaching students about innovation practices, how to design products, new product development, all that sort of stuff, how to get better ideas out. And the difference is, once I finished delivering the session to my students, the next day, I then went to the office and did it for my job every day, So that's what I always try and do. I always try and teach from a place of action and from a place of personal experience. And that's still what I do right now. Like, I'm out there with my camera, hustling, learning still, but then also just sharing what I know. And I don't pretend to know everything, but yeah, I'm still learning a lot. I've even learned a lot from you just before this call. So
yeah, right. I mean, that was the whole beauty of this platform I'm trying to do, is just learning as much as you can, getting all these different perspectives. Like, we resonated already on the college thing, because I see like professors, right? They're teaching like entrepreneurship, but they're like, they don't have any businesses, or they have failed businesses. So I'm like, why should I even, like, that already tells me, like, from day one, like, why should I be listening to you,
Exactly. Dude, like, your entire marketing degree is in 2 books, and a third one is about to come out by Alex Hormozy, $100 million offers, $100 million leads, and then his next book, $100 million sales, is going to come out soon. And that's an entire marketing degree. Like, you just don't need anything else. I've read $100 million offers and $100 million leads. You can see right there, that's $100 million offers right there, just sticking out of the shelf. I've learned so much, because I didn't study marketing and sales, but I don't know if you want to pivot the conversation into more of like the business sort of chat. But yeah, the benefits of learning about sales and marketing, not only to sell your own freelance services and to sell yourself as a creative and as a photographer and as a videographer, but also to then build and sell your own product offers, which for me, that's been the reason why I've been able to turn this into a full-time job so quickly. 1 year and 7 months from the time of picking up my first camera to the time of turning it into my job. It was from February 2022 to October 2023. And it's all down to learning sales and marketing. Yeah, learning sales and marketing, having the courage to put digital product offers out there. Lots of people in our space, they feel like it's a bit taboo and they want to go down the traditional route of freelancing and all that sort of stuff. But it's like, I don't know if you're an investor or if you invest yourself, but you always want to build a diverse array of investments in your portfolio, so that if one drops away, it doesn't matter, because you have all these other income streams, all these other investments propping you up. Same with photography, same with running your own business. One income stream drops away, or it falls off, then you have others that just top you up. And not only that, do you have that security, but you also have this ability to do exactly what you want and work with exactly who you want as a photographer, as a videographer. I don't have to go and shoot for Joe Blow's cafe down the street and make 30 social media videos for him in an hour and charge him $2,000 and put him on a retainer, because I don't want to shoot cafe content for social media. I just want to shoot cars, So having those digital product offers and those other income streams allows me to be incredibly selective with who I work with, and to say bugger off to those people that I don't want to work with. Like, I don't know if you can, like, if you've had that situation where you've had to take a client that you don't want to take. Like, you don't want to do their work, you're not overly passionate about the vision that they have for their content or their business or whatever, it doesn't align with you, but you have to pay the bills and keep the roof over the head. So you just say, yep, I'll take that, no problem. Like, here's your quote, here's your invoice. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've had that numerous times. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd say like 60% of my jobs are like the tedious ones. Like I like doing the cars just like you, and also fitness. I like recording like sports and gym content.
I saw that. That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
love those videos because you can get so creative with it and how you portray the fitness and the move, because there's so many movements. All the machines are different. Like you could do all these crazy things, and that's what sparks my creativity the most. But then on the other hand, I'm doing like short form like shoots, like I don't like vertical content. I like horizontal content. So whenever I'm doing vertical content, I'm like, but you got to pay the bills, right? So
you do.
I'm
you
just
have
taking
to.
the jobs.
But I think one of the benefits of coming into the photography space and the social media space a bit older, so lots of the people that I'm friends with, they're in their early 20s, they're in their late teens, and they're just kind of getting started. But I obviously got started at 29 years old, and I had 6 years of corporate experience. I'd been at uni for 8 years. I'd finished high school. Like I knew who I was as a person. I knew what I liked and didn't like. I knew how much rubbish to take from people and how much to say no to and push back on. So when I discovered photography, I made this promise to myself that I never wanted photography to feel like the job I was leaving. And I've said it to multiple people before, that sort of line of, I never want photography to feel like this. And at my 9-to-5 job, I did have to do Zoom meetings and quotes and invoices and emails and deal with clients that I didn't want to work with, and CEOs of companies that had massive egos and were just idiots and didn't understand the scope of the project. And I'm constantly pulling them back on scope. They're constantly asking for the world. And I'm like, look, this is not what this project includes, mate. Like, are you thick? So I took that thinking over into the photography space, and I was like, look, if I never want photography and content creation to feel like that, then I have to have ultimate say and ultimate power over who I work with and who I don't work with. So that's where building these other income streams comes in, because it allows me to be incredibly selective with who I work with. Like the freelance arm of my business only represents a very small percentage of the overall income that's coming in, just because I only want to work with friends of mine and their businesses. I only want to work with people that I have this connection with, and I appreciate their work ethic and their hustle, but it's also mutual respect as well. And they get me and they get what I'm about, So yeah, just having the freedom to just, like, when a client sends you an email out of the blue and you read the email and you go, I would never do this in a million years. And instead of sitting there going, hello there, nice to meet you. Hope you're going well. Oh yes, no problem. I'll send you a quote over immediately and we'll jump on a Zoom call and have a chat. And I'd love to understand the scope of the project. And I'd love to get a few key details from you, blah, 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 before you can start the process. I can just ignore the email.
Yeah.
I can just delete it. Yeah, I can just delete it. I barely get back to anything. I just delete them. And that's the power that I want in my business, because in my old 9-to-5 job, I would get emails from clients, prospective clients, or I would be handed them by my supervisor that had those initial conversations with them, and they would hand the client over to me and go, right, Ben, that's your client, go look after them, do whatever they want, blah, blah, blah. But now I have like ultimate say and ultimate power, and I'm just like, nah, jog on, mate. Like, I'm not going to send you a reply,
That's awesome.
So yeah, dude, if you don't already, I highly recommend just finding some ways of getting some digital product offers out there, posting on social media consistently, growing your personal brand even more than you already have, because there's only benefits.
This whole podcast idea was kind of like along the lines of that. Obviously it's not like a digital product offering, but it's another content variation that I can slowly build on the side that can, potentially lead to income. Obviously, I'm not making money with it now, but podcasts, obviously there's a lot of them out there, right? We all know. But if you're able to stay consistent, like you've been saying with the reels and the short form content, you could blow it up real quick,
Absolutely. You get sponsors, you get different guests on, and this thing could get really, really big. And the crazy stat is, don't quote me on this specific figure, but apparently only like 1% or 0.5% of all podcasts that are ever started make it to episode 100. So if you literally just make 100 episodes, you're already in the top 0.5% of everyone else out there trying to start a podcast. And that just immediately puts you ahead. So before you even think about money, before you even think about that, just like sit down, eat crap every day and get no views and no one cares, and just do that quiet work, and then just make 100 episodes and boom, like you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's keeping me going, really, honestly. And obviously the potential to reach some people through reels. Like I've had a couple on, I think the episode 1, I had a couple do like over 100K. Obviously not too much, but like the views.
That's huge
were good.
though.
I had Sony Electronics comment on one of them. It was pretty cool. They were just
nice.
like, Sony is so good with their PR on social media. It was like a video about the A9 III and how it has like 120 FPS shutter, like global shutter, and it was like so fast.
It's crazy.
So
that's a crazy camera.
Yeah, we did a video reacting to it, like just on the podcast, like because I never heard it and he never heard it, and we just did it. And Sony just comments, they're like, appreciate y'all, and it's just like the top comment on there. It's just crazy. I'm like,
it's always nice to get a bit of recognition. Yeah, exactly. Sponsor, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
No, I mean, like you've been saying, like the reels, it's just, you can get like crazy stuff like that just out of the blue, which is, it's always fun.
Yeah. And you have to just put yourself in a position to capitalize on quote unquote luck. I don't believe in luck. I believe you create your own luck, and that good luck can very easily turn into bad luck if you don't put yourself in a position to capitalize on it. So if you're just out there and consistently chipping away, working away, it is literally only a matter of time until something happens. It's not a question of if it'll happen, just when it will happen. And that's been my experience, because when I first started, I had like 100 followers on my account, and it was just like family and friends that were following my personal Instagram. I renamed it to Life Through Optics, and I think I had like maybe 2 posts or 3 posts or something on there. And I just started posting. And it took me 11 months of posting pretty much every single day to go from 100 followers to 500 followers. So in 11 months of like killing myself every day, staying up until 2, 3, 4 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m., sometimes even 6 a.m., and then getting up at 7:30 and then going to work the next day to run a lecture in front of 200 students, to then jump on a Zoom call with the CEO of Twinings Tea because we're doing a project with them, and like all this rubbish, and then come home and just do it again. And to see only, $0 for one, but also 400 followers in 11 months. And then, but I had to do that to be able to build the foundational skills of posting content on social media, to learn about who I was and the voice that I wanted to have as a creative in this space, and to figure out authentically who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And that's when I worked out ultimately that I'm just here to help people. And then that new direction then started skyrocketing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I feel like almost it's like you were saying, like staying up till 6 a.m. to edit. It's almost like, how bad do you want it? Because I've seen so many people, right? I've seen so many people like my age especially, right? So I'm 20. I know a lot of people in this space that are videographers, right? Sony, they have Sonys and stuff, like Instagram, but they're not posting consistently. Like it's simple, but it's hard, right? It's not both. So it's like, it's simple, consistency, discipline, posting once a day. And it sucks. I have like a lot of times, right? I'm cutting up reels of podcasts and I'm like, I don't even know if this is going to do well. And it's like, I tell myself, now's just when it counts, because it's only a matter of time. If I do this once a day, and eventually, I just know, eventually it'll get to the point that I want it to get to. But it's just a lot of pushing and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and just overall just being very consistent. It's so simple. People don't really grasp the weight of being consistent and also not being a perfectionist.
Yeah, man, I 100% agree with all that. And I have this sort of mantra that I've got in my head, which is it's simple, but it's not easy. And I think that just like goes hand in hand with exactly what you were saying about the fact that it is this simple thing to be consistent, but it's like it's far from easy to do it, So I don't know if that's been your experience as well. Like it's not an easy thing, but boy, is it simple to just show up.
No, it's obviously, you do a week, a week, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can do this. But then it gets to like months and years, and you're like, it's really stacks up quick. And that's when your willpower is really tested. And I wanted to sort of pivot and talk about how, your blow up on social media. I mean, you're at 750K now on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take to reach that? Like, was it in bursts, and like what was that process like?
Yeah, for sure. So it was definitely, it always comes in waves. So for me, it's so important about ensuring that I keep my input the same, and that's what I'm focused on. And then I'm not getting too caught up in likes and shares and comments and followers and all that, those ego metrics, as I was talking about before, because that can lead to so many different mental well-being issues that obviously you may have seen other creators suffer with, burnout and all those sorts of things. But for me, I just focus on my input. So how many times can I post? How many photos can I shoot? How many videos can I make? And that's really all I focused on. So yeah, like I said before, it took me 11 months to go from 100 followers to 500 followers. Then I made this pivot towards actually trying to target providing value to people that were watching. And that's so key, because it's at its core, social media is this exchange between one person, you, the creator, to another person, the viewer. And it's so important that as the creator, we sit there and we value that other person's time by at least giving them something in exchange for spending their life watching our stuff. Like, you got to think about it. We're alive for average age of 77 years, 80 years, something on this planet. They're giving us a tiny little portion of their life and investing that in our content every time they watch it. So for me, it was always about leaning into the 3 E's of content creation. So educate, empower, and entertain. So I try and make sure every time I make a piece of content, I'm hitting at least 3 of those. And that's what I changed up. In October 2022, I started posting twice a day instead of once a day. And I focused on those 3 things and really trying to give back to people and give without expectation. And that's when I saw a massive little growth spurt initially. So from October to January, so 22 to 23, I went from 500 to 3,000 followers in a space of a few months. So then I was like, okay, I'm kind of onto something here. This is working, And I all of a sudden felt all this like momentum building. I had a few videos pop off and do really well, 700,000 views, 600,000 views, all that sort of stuff. And I only had 3,000 followers. And, all of this, all these comments, these really overwhelmingly positive comments were coming in, and the engagement was fantastic. And it's almost like, yes, something was just bubbling away under the surface. And it was just waiting for this one thing to just light that spark, light that fire, and just catch it all alight. And that happened in late January 2023. I posted a video at 2:17 in the morning. So like after my 9-to-5 job, got home, I really didn't want to edit that day. I can remember it so vividly. I was like sitting on the couch downstairs, and I said this phrase to myself that I've been saying over and over again on repeat, which is, this is when it counts. This is when it matters, right here, right now. This is why you will win and other people won't win, because right now you're willing to do what counts. And that was enough to get me upstairs to this desk right here to edit that video. And I thought nothing of it. I just cut it together super quick, crapped it out.
What was the video?
So it was a video where I was speaking to a good friend of mine, Brendan, Hypo34, and I was shooting his yellow GTR, his yellow R34 GTR. And he starts off the video going, oh man, I didn't realize your Instagram was all about tutorials and helping people and this and that. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm just here to share what I know and bring people along for the process. I don't know everything, but I want people to use my content as a starting point. And I put some screen recordings up of my little like editing breakdown posts that I do where I share how I edit my photos. And for whatever reason, I think it was what Brendan said at the start of the video that hooked people in to go, hey, you're a genius for doing that. And I'm like, oh, thanks, dude, whatever. Like, and then just proceeded to tell people about, or tell him about what my mission was with all this. Like, I just want people to see my stuff, use it as a starting point and get better. Because when I started doing photography, you've probably felt this as well in this space. There is a huge culture, or there was a huge culture of gatekeeping and people holding things back.
Yep.
And having this scarcity mindset and believing that, if someone else comes into this space, they're going to steal my clients, they're going to steal my work, they're going to steal my money. Whereas when I came into this, I came into it with the abundance mindset, which Gary Vaynerchuk taught me. Gary V, prolific entrepreneur. And he taught me all about this mindset of the abundance mindset, which is there is always a big enough slice of the pie for you to carve out $100,000 per year little niche for yourself in any industry ever, So that's how I came into photography. And because I was so new and so fresh, I didn't know what the rules were for photography and this space. I didn't know what the norms were. So I just came in and I was just myself, because as I said before, coming at it as a 29-year-old. So I'm sure-footed, I know myself, and I'm just going to share that and see what happens. And yeah, man, so that's what the video was all about. And I posted it at 2:17 because I got like the timestamps and stuff on my phone. And then I went to sleep and didn't think anything of it. Hit 3K just before I went to sleep. I took a screenshot and I was like, yes, in the morning, I'll post that on my story and I'll share with everyone, hey guys, we did it. We made it to 3K. And then I went to sleep and then I woke up with 8,000 followers. So I woke up at 7:30. So in the space of 5.5 hours, I'd blown up 5,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, what the hell? And then over the course of the morning, as I made breakfast, it went from 8,000 to 15,000. And then I was like, oh God, like, what is this? I thought I'd been hacked. So I was messaging my friends going, hey, like, has someone just trolled me and they've bought me followers? Like, has someone just like gone onto one of those sus websites, bought me followers without telling me, and now the account's going crazy? But then I looked and it was like comments coming in and like these were all real accounts. Like they weren't new accounts or bot accounts. And I was almost about to report the incident to Instagram support. Like I was literally in the chat. And then I'd also been posting every day on TikTok as well. And I decided before I submitted my little request to Instagram, I decided to go over and check TikTok. And the video had also blown up on TikTok. And because the video mentioned Instagram, because Brendan said Instagram in the video, people were coming over from the viral video on TikTok, coming over onto Instagram, which blew up that video on Instagram and then blew up every single other video around it.
Isn't it crazy how that works?
Yeah, because
it's nuts.
I said all these things in the video about what I was doing, and then they came over to my account and then they saw that I'd been doing it for 11 months or 12 months by that point. So they were like, oh, this guy truly is who he says he is, because I had built that proof in the action.
That's the important part. That's the important part, because you've built up so much repertoire already from the content, and maybe it wasn't taking off, but now when someone shows, like they see the blown up video, they go back and they're like, oh shit, this guy's been posting for like a year.
Yeah, so every
good shit.
Every video around that video just blew up as well. Hundreds of thousands of views, everything around it just took off. And yeah, in the space of 4 days, I went from 3,000 followers to 100,000 followers in 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the crazy thing is, the even crazier thing is, 2 weeks before that, I worked like 18-hour days, 20-hour days to get my first preset pack launched. When I had when I had 1,500 followers, I launched the preset pack. The blow up happened at 3,000 followers, 3,000 to 100,000 followers in 4 days. And then all of a sudden, people immediately had somewhere to spend money with me. And that's where it all took off there as well. Like the money just started coming in, like just constantly. And it was crazy.
Yeah. So you're editing all your stuff? You don't
Yeah.
you don't send it out to someone?
No,
So,
I edit all my content. Yeah.
I do the same thing, but like I know some people, they have like, established editors, but I think, in order to get like a homemade feeling and like your signature feeling, like you have to edit your own stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. Because I want my account to be this safe place, this safe learning environment. And that's what my PO videos are. They're like a safe learning environment where we can all come together. You can learn something and then you can comment and then get some help either from me or from other fellow creators. And like one of my slogans at Life Through Optics is let's get better together. Like that's what it's all about. Getting better together, building each other up. Because my ethos is I'm so passionate about photography and creating content. So why wouldn't I want every single other person that has an interest in it to do it as well? Like, why wouldn't I want to share that with people and have them do it too? It was just this really like basic sort of thing for me. So yeah, man. And then basically I spoke to one of my mates about the blow up as well. His name's Tom Noski, super established creator. Because I was like freaking out when this was all happening, the crazy blow up. So I called him and I was like, mate, like, what do I do? Like, what is all this? I'm getting so many DMs, like I'm getting so many comments, like what is happening? Like, what do I do? And he was like, just keep doing what you're doing. It's working. And that's all he told me. He's like, keep doing what you're doing. It's working. Don't stress. Just keep going. And then I did. So for every single day since then, it's been twice a day, every day posting. And then, yeah, by the end of 2023, I'd hit 500,000 followers. And now getting close to the end of 2024, yeah, it's at 750 something thousand. So
yep,
it's just crazy. Blown
That's
up
insane.
Even more than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah, I kind of resonate where like you said about how you posted at like 2 a.m. and it was just like a one-off video you thought would just be like another video.
Yeah.
I posted, it was so stupid. It was like a POV. It was like I strapped my action camera, literally gaff taped it to the back of I have a Toyota 4Runner, and
Yep.
I gaffed it, the Action 3 on the back of one of the headrests so they could see me shooting out of the trunk because there's the
sick.
window, the drop window.
Yeah.
Yeah, great layout, right? And what happened was an undercover cop like pulled up, or like it was like an undercover cop pulled up while we were shooting rollers, and like I was like, roll the window up, and I'm like hiding underneath the window like so he doesn't see me, and then he gets in our lane, he's like just trailing us, and then he goes past, and then I'm like, oh my god, I dodged a bullet. That was the whole video.
Yeah.
The video got like 60 million views on YouTube Shorts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And YouTube Shorts is big because that platform is super sticky when it comes to audience loyalty. So did your YouTube channel just like blow up as well because of that?
Yeah, I have like 50K subs from that video.
Wild.
And the income too. I think I made like 3,000 on that video.
Yeah.
Which is it's just stupid. It's like the videos. Nothing happens. It's just like, oh shoot, dodged a bullet. But then I wrote like the text on the screen. It's like, we were shooting rollers until this happened.
Yeah.
Like, so dramatic.
Yep.
Yeah, and like people are like, what's gonna happen? It's just like, it's like that type of content just does well, I guess. I don't know.
And YouTube Shorts as well. Like I've been posting pretty much a YouTube short a day as well for, I think, over a year and a half. And just doing that got me like 180,000 subscribers. So like the power of shorts and being able to get started on YouTube, it's never been as simple to gain an audience on YouTube. Long form is difficult, man. Still to this day, it's difficult. You have to be an expert with titles, thumbnails, retention techniques, all that sort of stuff to get people to stick and have YouTube push your video out there. But yeah, the right title and the right little screenshot from a short, and because it's volume as well, it just works.
It's in the nitty gritty, man. Like
Yeah.
I used to work for an dealership, car dealership, doing social media management. So I was in charge of running their Instagram.
Yeah.
And we would make reels and we'd like collaborate. Oh, what should we do, right? And over the course of, it was maybe just under a year I was there until I quit to go full time with this.
Yep.
We were like, the content that has been working well and that consistently hits is the bold, like controversial stuff on the screen where like, this is like 10 reasons why the Toyota Tacoma sucks. Even though it's like the best car ever, people will be like, no, that's not right. And then it's just people are commenting and it's like rage baiting. I don't know if you've heard that term.
I have. It's something I try to avoid. I go the other way and I try and like go overly positive.
It's not good.
Yeah. Because it's not sustainable. It does get views, but in the long term, it's not sustainable because you can't, like for me, I don't want to be known as someone who just brings negativity to the platform and to my personal brand. Like I want to be known as someone that's positive and that just tries to build people up. So yeah, you run the risk of, yes, you can build an audience fast with controversial content, but then is that audience going to be with you for the long run, and are they going to invest in, say you launch digital product offers and workshops and all sorts of things like I've been doing, are they then going to reach out the hand of desire that's what we used to call it.
This guy was bashing, this camera. I don't want to buy his course or something.
But that's what
I totally get that.
That's like a phrase that I learned back in my old job, reaching out the hand of desire, working in the food and beverage industry, because that's what we tried to get people to do in the supermarkets to like buy the products. But yeah, dude. So there you go.
No, I think you touched on your product offerings, and I think that's a perfect segue into getting into. I know you have a lot of different product offerings on your website that I took a look at before this podcast, and the first one I wanted to go over, and it was just the most simple one, was the email newsletter.
Yeah.
What do you think is the power of establishing a newsletter like that? What can it do for your customer base?
It's less about what it can do for you, and it's more about what it can do for the people that are subscribed. I think it's super important to focus on that when you're going into an email newsletter. And you just want to give people a little window into your soul through that. So whenever I'm writing my newsletters, it's always just about being open, sharing a little story, sharing some experience, and then I also invite people to reply. At the end, I'm like, hey, if that resonated with you, if you have any thoughts, if you have anything you want to share, please send a reply through to this email address, and then it's just something that can build a relationship with your followers outside of social media, because social media, you've probably heard this term studying marketing, but social media is your rented audience, because that audience is owned by Meta, technically, like Facebook, Instagram, both owned by Meta. So they own your audience. We just rent it. But on a platform like ConvertKit, like what I use for my email newsletters, that is my owned audience. Those are people that have chosen to subscribe. They have passed over their names and their email addresses and have allowed me to contact them. So yeah, that's at its core, that free email newsletter is just a touch point to build a relationship with that owned audience, which can then lead to, more monetization opportunities in the future, as well as you start to seed in digital product offers and workshops and things of that nature, But this is all, it's quite complicated, being a photographer or creative that's just starting out. And I teach this in my workshop. The single best way to make money is always freelance. You start out and you have your camera and you just go, how can people pay me to use this? I love using it. How can I just get people to pay me to use it? And that's what I did when I started out. So I used to do shoots for, people that were looking to sell their cars we've got a platform in Australia called Car Sales, similar to Auto Trader. And some fantastic photos on Auto Trader can, allow you to put the price a little bit higher and sell the car even faster. So I did quite a few of those different shoots. I landed my first freelance gig after shooting for 3 months. So started in February, March, April, May. So May 2022, landed my first freelance gig. That was through a friend of a friend. And he was a rapper, and they were doing like a studio recording session, and they wanted a photographer to come in and take photos of that recording session. It was like 330 Australian dollars that I got paid for that, but it was proof. It was like, I have this camera, I love taking photos, I just made money. Right, let's go. This is working.
Yeah.
So that was really
that's
cool.
The beauty in it. And because I recently, like I told you, I used to have a job pretty recently. I actually just, maybe like a month ago, quit it.
Congratulations.
So all my income's been, thank you, I appreciate it. It was very stressful.
Yeah.
Because there's no right way to do it, I feel like.
No.
It's just a very uncomfortable conversation to have.
Yes.
But you know, it has to be done, right? I can't trap myself, so I did it, right? And then all my income now is just through the camera, and it's a beautiful thing. Like I'm like, I cherish this item, and I create art with it.
Yep.
And the fact that even one person, right? Don't even talk about just one person will give me US dollars for in exchange for my work. That's like, in my mind, I'm like, that gives me peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's proof of concept, and you know, going from $0 to $1 is a lot harder than going from $1 to $100,000. Like just making that first bit of money, having the courage to do it, you know, putting the systems in place and building the skill set that you need to be able to have someone part ways with some of their hard-earned money. That's most of the battle right there. And then from there, it's just refinement. So yeah, I definitely, like I kept doing that, kept shooting freelance, kept expanding my network inside Melbourne. And then I got to a point where I was on retainer with a car storage and dealership business called Benzina Stables here in Melbourne. And I was shooting for them every single week consistently and doing all their dealership photography. And it got to a point, and I was still working my 9 to 5 at this point as well. And also I'd built the digital product offers, which were just continuing to grow and grow and grow. Because of posting consistently on social media and then infusing those digital products throughout my content and my stories. And then, yeah, it got to a point where the Benzina Stables crew were like, Ben, like, we need you around here more. What do we need to pay you so that you can quit your 9 to 5 and just come and work with us? You know, but by that stage, unfortunately, I'd kind of moved kind of beyond that situation. Life Through Optics was probably now at like 400,000 followers or so, 500,000 followers probably. And I was making substantially more money through the digital product route than I was doing the freelance work, because freelance work is always dictated by the number of hours in the day and the number of hours that you're behind the camera shooting. As soon as you turn off the camera, your money stops. Or maybe, you know, you're sitting at home editing, but just for this analogy, as soon as you flick that off button, so the money stops as well. But the beauty with building up, you know, digital product income streams to go alongside freelance is that for me, being in Australia, I would post my content and then I would go to sleep, and everyone in the US would wake up and then buy my products. And I'm asleep, and I'm asleep making money. And there's a quote from Warren Buffett that I love, which is, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. So that was always my goal from the outset of starting any entrepreneurial venture, whether it was drop shipping when I initially started out and then moving into photography. I still had that lens of, okay, I need to figure out a way to like scale this beyond just my hours that I'm putting into this behind the camera. So yeah, that's when I launched my preset pack. I mean, my first product I launched was a wallpaper pack when I had 500 followers, and started selling almost immediately. It was $9, $9 Australian. So what's that in US? Like $6 or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
And the volume wasn't crazy, but just like with freelance and getting my first client, when I got my first sale and I got someone to pay me $9, it was proof of concept. And like going from 0 to 1 is much harder than going from 1 to 100, you know? And put the preset pack out and then continue to just iterate and improve on those offers, improve on my marketing strategy, infuse the email newsletters and the email marketing, grow my mailing list, and blah, blah, blah. We could dive in more into that, but yeah, that's basically how it's all gone.
A lot of people have come to me and said, Tony, you should make like those digital product offerings you have, like teaching people and stuff. But I've always been stuck on like, how do I avoid the line of generic? Because I feel like there's a lot of courses out there, right? There's a lot of digital product offerings from all these creators. How did you craft yours to make it stand out from like the generic run of the mill and like, this is life through optics course? This is like a signature course.
Yeah, that's a great question, dude. And I've got an answer for you straight away. It's no different to anyone else's stuff, really. Like, that's not to say that I've copied anyone. It's all my original work, and I have tried my absolute best to make it the best that it possibly can be, because that's what I'm like. I have to go into 100% and make it the best. But the difference always is me and you. Like, your followers, they don't want to buy from me, bro. They want to buy from you. And then my followers, don't want to buy from you. They want to buy from me, because they've gotten so much free value from the value-added content that I've put out there, educating, empowering, entertaining, that they then look at those product offers and go, you know what? I've learned so much from Ben already. I've learned so much from Tony already. I'm going to invest in his LUT pack or his preset pack and learn even more. And even if they don't want the presets, but they still buy it, which does often happen. I get emails from people going, hey, I bought the presets. I'm not even a car photographer, but I just wanted to say how much I appreciate what you do. And I just wanted to send you $45, And yeah, with this digital product space, like, just giving someone the opportunity to send some money your way is so powerful. Like, giving someone a place to just go and spend money with you, because you build up all this positive goodwill with the content you put out, or that should be your priority on social media, building up goodwill, building up authority, building up trust, and going into every relationship, digital or in person, just looking to add value and give more than you receive. And then you just go, hey, on top of all the free stuff that I'm doing, I've also got like a preset pack. Feel free to check it out if you want to. If you don't, no worries. I've got plenty of free stuff coming as well. And it's as simple as that, bro. It really is.
Yeah, it's always just been like in the back of my head, but I think I just gotta make the jump and start recording some like paid content variants I can use.
And dude,
a store.
The best thing to do, and I learned this from my mate Tom Noski, is to sell your sawdust. So what I mean by selling your sawdust is you start by selling products that are things that you use to create your content or make your videos or plan your shoots, or a quoting and invoicing template, or like a checklist for how you onboard a client on a Zoom call when you first meet them and engage with them. Selling your sawdust is all those little things that you use on a day-to-day basis, weekly basis, that make your life easier to be able to do what you do, right? So for me, presets, that's me selling my sawdust. Wallpapers, that's me selling my sawdust, because I shoot the photos anyway, so why not turn them into a wallpaper pack? For you, you're planning the shoots and engaging with clients and onboarding clients and giving them a quote and an invoice, so why not turn that into some templates on Notion and sell them for $10?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a good route, because it's like you're not like adding more to your plate, because it's already stuff you're using, and it's just once you have that proof of concept, then you scale it. Then you make a full-on like how to start a videography business course, which is like all the way from how to generate leads, how to get clients, how to onboard them, invoicing and quoting process, how to plan a shoot, how to behave on a shoot to give them a great experience, what outputs you do, how to make them, how to edit them, how to upload them, blah, blah, blah. And you turn that into a course, But you just have to start with selling your sawdust. So if you have a template where it's like how you plan your photo shoots, just put it in Notion and sell it. If you have a quote and invoicing template, put it in Notion and sell it, dude. And then make content showing you on the phone. I'm sure you've seen it, showing you on the phone to a client and like speaking to them and landing them as a client on the phone. And then in the caption, you put, hey, if you want my quoting and invoicing template, link in the bio, or comment the word template and I'll send you the link.
you know?
I've seen that guy Nathan do it.
Yep.
I think his handle's Nathan Negrin. Yeah, he does that stuff.
And it's,
And that I've had a call with him before. He's very knowledgeable too.
yeah, awesome. So you can see how it just, one thing leads to the next and leads to the next if you decide to just start to pay attention to the different opportunities that are constantly floating around you, you know?
Well, yeah, that's the name of the game. Like, the opportunity it's you create it. It's like everywhere around you, right, is an opportunity waiting to be created. It's not going to come to you. You have to take the action, the right action to whether it's through courses or client outreach and stuff. And I want to get into that now, actually, client relations and like handling and outreach. What is sort of like the best way? Let's say someone's let's say rewind, right? You get your first camera.
Yep.
You're freelancing. What is the single best way to like get out there and start getting like clients under your belt and experience?
Yeah, cool. So I'm pretty old school in this approach just because of the corporate career that I had in the past. And I had a fantastic mentor and boss at my corporate job. His name's Rod, so shout out to him. He probably won't watch it. But like he is an old school businessman, like when you think about it, but like the best of the best. And he has this phrase where it's like, press the flesh. And pressing the flesh means getting in front of people and giving them a handshake, pressing the flesh. Not just cold emailing people, not just sending an Instagram DM, getting out there into the community and putting yourself in front of people, in front of businesses, and introducing yourself. Because in the photography, videography, creative space, what sets you apart is not your skill set, it's you. Everyone with a camera can shoot a nice enough photo to get paid and shoot a nice enough video to get paid. Like, there's varying degrees of skill level, but when you're working for a brand or a business that don't know what they're doing, then any photo that's half decent shot on a professional camera will be more than good enough for them. So what sets you apart is you. So for me, when I first started out, I started by basically just simply telling people, my friends, my family, people I met at parties, birthday parties, I started just telling people that I was a photographer. That's like number one, step one. So for me, I was no longer a project manager, industrial designer, lecturer. So I introduced myself to people at, parties that I run into, and, I say, hi, my name's Ben, blah, blah, blah. They introduce themselves, and that inevitable question of, what do you do for a job? What do you do for a living pops up. And I always said, I'm a photographer. I never said that what I did at my 9 to 5. I always led with, I'm a photographer first. And like, that was such a key, pivotal, like, mindset shift that I had initially in those early days. And then obviously when people pried a little bit more, I'd then say that I also worked a 9 to 5 corporate. But that was like the biggest game changer for me. And then from there, that helped me get my first couple of clients, because chances are your friends of friends, your family members, the friends of the family, people that you run into, everyone will generally know someone that needs photos or that needs a photographer. Or, hey, my boyfriend's brother owns a business and he needs this and this shot. Like, you could run into someone, you just never know. So I got my first 3 or 4 shoots that way, started to build a portfolio. And then I was also still doing free automotive shoots as well to keep that all going. And I'm sure you know that most car dealerships, it happens in Australia, probably the US as well, will run cars and coffee events.
Yep.
Like, that's just a thing. That's a thing that happens. So I made a point to, anytime there was a cars and coffee event, I would like do my best to kind of suss it out on Instagram, ask other photographers, hey, what events popping up, blah, blah, blah. Just really try and like keep my ear to the ground and in the community. And before I knew it, I had basically one cars and coffee event in my calendar every week or every fortnight that I was going to at all these different businesses. And I would go to those events. I would make a point to try and seek out some of the staff members of that dealership, introduce myself, take photos of the whole event and do like event style coverage instead of just focusing just on cars. I would also focus just on the cars for my own content. But then after the event, I would go home, edit those shots the same day, send it to them in a really professional way on Pixie which is what I use to deliver all my photos to my clients. Amazing platform.
Yep, same.
And just say, hey guys, it was lovely to meet you today. I love the setup. I love the business that you're doing. Thank you so much for putting on such a great event. These are so important for the car community, but also for what I do, the photography community. I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciated it and blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to share all the photos that I shot from today. Please feel free to use them however you like on social media, on your website. No worries, totally free of charge for you. And I just look forward to running into you again in the future at the next event. I'll be there, sort of thing. And that's exactly how I did it with Benzina Stables, Young Timers Garage, Marquee Collective, like all of these businesses around Melbourne. And then that's how I landed my first retainer client in Benzina Stables. And my process of doing this is a lot more of a slower burn. And because I was working my 9 to 5 and selling digital products, I had the ability to take my time and to foster relationships and grow those relationships and become friends with those people that ran those businesses. And then because of all the free value that I'd given to them, they were like more than willing to throw money at me as soon as possible. You know, so that was the key for me starting to get clients. And then I'm sure you've experienced this as well, but one client will lead to the next client and lead to the next client and lead to the next client. And it's just this big snowballing thing. And then, yeah, so that's how I got started there. And then, as I said before, it got to this point where Benzina were like, hey, what money do you need from us to just be able to quit your 9 to 5? You know, but by that point, I decided that the style of dealership photography wasn't for me. It was too formulaic, and I was shooting some cool cars, and I loved working with the Benzina crew. Absolutely lovely guys. Still work with them now, but in a different sort of capacity. And I decided it was a little too formulaic, and the digital product stuff was going really well. The social media stuff, you know, the YouTube ad revenue coming in from Google every month was good as well from shorts. So I decided to ultimately step away from that sort of like dealership style photography piece and then focus more on creating content, building my digital products. I built up my workshop, which is going really, really well. And then I've actually just most recently built out a brand new like freelance service offering, which I offer to, you know, a select few dealerships that I have good relationships with around Melbourne. And it's a kind of profit sharing model. So I go in and my services are to deliver an image gallery, a long form YouTube video, and some short form content as well. Posting those collaboratively across the 2 accounts, providing the brand or the business with everything that I shoot. And I don't get paid unless the car sells. So if that car sells, then I take a certain percentage of the profits of that sale. But if it doesn't sell, then I don't get paid. So it's like this win-win thing. And I'm in a position where I don't really need the money, which is a great position to be in. Like, I don't need the money from them, but obviously I'm not going to do all the work and then help them to sell a car and get profit without taking a small cut, because that business model was just silly. Like, if there's money on the table for everyone out there, if there's money on the table, take it.
Yeah.
You know,
I like when you
doesn't matter how well you're doing.
I like when you said about how, I think it was a recent reel of yours, and you said how the car meets are like free practice, and if you could take a good picture at a car meet, you're already at a good spot for those like private meetups. That really I feel like that inspires people to like keep going out to meets, because I was a photographer before videography. I started by going to meets. You know, anything I could get into, right? Whatever it was, wherever it was, you know, obviously I'm on Long Island, so wherever on Long Island, New York it was, I was there. I was just capturing cars, sending clients also, like potential clients, their pictures, which is also a good thing.
Absolutely.
Like the owner of the car, I just, you know, I saw you like chase down one of the guys to get his information. So like stuff like that. Those extra strides is what that free like training ground is made for. You know, you get experience,
it's
clients
like,
and everything.
I don't know if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan at all, but it's like the hyperbolic time chamber or whatever that thing was called, when like Goku and Gohan go into this like time chamber and then they come out and they're all just like jacked because they've just been training in there for ages. And it's like exactly what car meets are for me. Like it's just this training ground.
I like that. I like that analogy. It's fun. Yeah, no.
And because you're putting yourself in difficult situations and still coming away with good results, it means that when you do land that one-on-one photo shoot, you're so much more equipped to provide amazing client experience, which should be the priority. Just giving people amazing experiences, being yourself, being funny, showing your personality, but then also showing and demonstrating your work ethic and just really setting yourself apart from the rest, because it isn't your skills that set you apart, it's you. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
So it's been good. And a lot of the stuff around freelance, I actually learned from my 9-to-5 job, because that was a huge portion of what I was doing in that role, was working with clients and invoicing and costing and quoting and calls and delivering the services and client management, stakeholder relationships, managing expectations, staying on project scope, and then all that carried over beautifully into photography when I started.
Yeah, that's actually a very unique path, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that, on how your previous job kind of helped you pivot in a business savvy way in the photography industry, because you knew all those different things at your job, and dealing with, like you were saying, emails and stuff, and presentations and all that stuff. You were able to use that knowledge and apply it to your creative career, which is honestly, impressive to see.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's been the reason I've been able to accelerate so quickly into it, because you're going up against, not that there's any direct competition between different creatives, because I don't believe that there is, because we're all our own unique person. So there'll always be someone that will buy your services over my services because they prefer to work with you, right? Or someone prefers to work with me. But when you look around in this space, everyone's quite young, and they haven't had the life experience and certainly the business experience that I had in that corporate world. So many of those skills were translatable into that freelance piece, but also sending a professional email, being able to converse with clients in a really professional way, and just making sure they had a great experience. And just how you communicate is so key as well, like on a Zoom call or in a face-to-face meeting, or how you introduce yourself to a client at a car meet. Like when you're a bit older, when you've got a bit more experience and you've honed your conversational skills, it just stands you in much better stead for those sorts of environments. And then with the teaching piece, because I was a lecturer at the uni as well, where I worked at, delivering 3-hour lectures to 180, 190, 200 students. And those teaching skills now translate perfectly over into my photography creator workshop, where it's all about teaching people how to build a photography/content creator business. So basically my entire business model, I teach to people. And I've built an entire curriculum for that, because that's what I had to do in my previous job. I had to build an entire curriculum for a semester-long unit. And this workshop that I do is a lot shorter than that. It's only one session at the moment, but then the next one is going to be 4 sessions split across 2 weeks and way more depth. But I know how to build out a curriculum, build out a methodology for success, because that's what I did in my past job. At the business I worked at, we had a methodology for successful innovation, and now I have a methodology to become a photography creator like me. And that's what I share in there. So yeah, man, it's awesome to know that every single thing that I did in my life, as bad as it was or as good as it was building me into this person that I am now, so that I could accelerate so quickly. 1 year and 7 months from starting to going full time, which, looking back on it now, it's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
Because I know people that have been shooting for 6 years and still aren't full time.
Yep.
And it's just, so I'm very, very privileged to be in this position, but I also worked my ass off, 150,000 images shot in 2 years, 250 photo shoots done in 2 years, posted 1,400 times on social media in 2 years.
Wow.
And yeah, if you want, I have this, another thing in another quote that's burned into my brain, if you want to get unreasonable results, you have to take unreasonable action to get to that. And And that's what I did. I wanted unreasonable results because I was 29, getting old. I had to, if I was going to break out of my 9 to 5, it was now or never. So to achieve that unreasonable outcome, I had to do unreasonable actions.
Yeah,
So,
and again, it's like everything happens for a reason too. You know, you had all these skills building up, although, you know, you can't see the full picture just yet when you're in like the shit, you know, so to speak.
yeah,
It's
100%.
like you got like
100%.
you can't see it yet. And I tell this to people too that come to me that are like, you know, oh, I don't know what to do, or like, I don't know what to shoot. It's like, when you're in it, it seems a lot worse than when you're out of it, you know? So
absolutely.
So it's like just let it play out, you know? Don't quit now.
Yeah.
Let it play out, because, you know, in your case, all those things helped you anyways, you know, to build the life you wanted to build.
And dude, that's not even touching on my design skills, like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, 3D CAD, sketching, hand rendering, like 3D sketches, like all this stuff. The reason why I can come up with a digital product idea and then make it on the same day is because I've got graphic design knowledge, I've got web design experience, and I can put all that stuff together like it's second nature. So like all the graphics that I do for all my digital products I make, all the copy, all the visuals. It's all just done by me because I picked up all those skills over the years. So I don't know, honestly, there could be something in, if you don't know what you want to do yet, do a design degree. Like go and study graphic design, because you don't need to study videography or photography because YouTube will teach you everything you want to know. But going to uni and doing like graphic design and learning Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, when to use all of those, doing something around web development if there's electives there. I mean, again, you can be all self-taught on YouTube, but there could be something in just going and studying a design degree. Not that I'm pushing people towards university, because I think if they're creative like us, then potentially university is not the best route, because sometimes it can kill your creativity and it can kill what makes you unique, and it can just make you another line entry on a piece of paper with a bunch of debt.
Yeah, no, again, it's like I said before, I'm in it. I'm too far into it to stop now. I got less than a year, so
yeah,
it's whatever at this point.
And dude, like 100% of the people on this call right now felt that. So like both you and I felt that, and we can't be the only ones that get to final year and go, oh God, like I'm stuck. I just have to finish this.
Yep, and it's
So what does that say about the system?
It's a slow burn, my friend. It's a very slow, painful burn, but we're getting through it. So whatever, you know, that's I guess I have to do it now because senior year. So it's all good. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about AI, because I know that's like a hot topic now, and I know that some of your photos it has an AI like on the top. It says, "Oh, AI may have been used for this post." So I wanted to know, like, how do you use AI? And I wanted to know your opinions on where it shouldn't be used versus when it should be used.
Yeah, good question. So a lot of my image carousels actually don't, like I haven't even used generative fill in Photoshop. Obviously that's like the primary use is to remove objects from images to make them a little bit cleaner. But the crazy thing is I make all my image carousels in Photoshop as one seamless strip, and I drag in everything and do all the design and stuff over the top. And just through that process of putting the file in Photoshop and then exporting it, that's enough for the metadata of the files to be flagged by Meta, by Instagram, and saying that AI was used, even though that I didn't use AI at all. I didn't use healing, I didn't use generative fill,
that's crazy.
And like nothing was used. All I did was I put together the carousel in Photoshop, which adds a few lines of code that Instagram pick up and then say, hey, AI was used.
That's crazy. What?
Yeah, so that happens quite a bit. But then obviously on other posts, I use generative fill to remove people or objects or cracks from the road or specks of dust or whatever.
That's a good
And
one.
that use is totally fine. That use is totally fine. But I'm also quite open to lots of applications for AI. If you want to change the environment that the car is in, why not do it? As long as you're transparent about it, like who cares? Like
Yeah.
it's we have to remember that photography is a creative pursuit, just like painting is. And like you don't go up to a painter and go, "Oh mate, none of this is real, so you suck," and like you're trying to like mislead people. It's like, no, we're just being artists and we're just expressing ourselves. So for me, AI is just another tool to express ourselves, but also to create a higher quality of work and to then also enable us to do more, right? So I use AI quite a bit to come up with new content ideas for Instagram. I use AI to write things out for me. If I ever get stuck on something, I'll get ChatGPT to write something out for me, and then I'll use that as a starting point and then rewrite everything. Usually I like rewrite the whole thing, but it's like what I was talking about before. Starting from zero is a lot harder than starting from one. And I find that AI gives me one. It gives me that one on the board, and then I can start typing it and turn it into a 10.
Yep.
And turn it into my own thing. So I love AI as a tool, and I think it's just going to get better and better. It's going to make our lives even easier. It's going to create a lot more opportunities. Obviously, some industries will be a lot more ravaged by AI, but in terms of photography in this creative space, there is always going to be a place for capturing and freezing moments with a photo and capturing a real life moment with a video. AI video looks fantastic and you can type it in at a prompt, but you will never be able to capture a real moment with it. And I think that's the key. And you have to think, like, the first camera was invented in like the 1850s, 1840s or something, I think. Don't quote me on that. And you have to think about all the technological advancements that have happened in between the 1850s to now, and we're still taking photos.
Yeah.
So like, we're fine, dude.
Yeah.
We're fine. And now it's even easier because we got phones. We've got phones with great cameras in our pockets. But even that hasn't replaced dedicated cameras either. There's always going to be a place, bro. And again, it comes back to abundance mindset that I was talking about before. Yes, AI is going to come in and change things, but there's always going to be a big enough slice of the pie for us to be able to do what we love, regardless of what's going on in the world. Like, I just do not care about what's going on in the world. I just take my photos and just try and make people's lives better with every interaction. That's all I do.
And I think that also kind of like loops into a little bit of branding as well. Like, people, AI is out there, but AI cannot, like, people want a human. They want to be able to look to a human for stuff. Like, you know, Ben, Life Through Optics, that's his brand, right? AI is an artificial thing. It's not a real tangible person. So that's
exactly.
Branding can keep you, I guess, future proof in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, man, I love it because it creates more opportunities. And another stat that I've heard that I'm not very confident that it's accurate, but apparently there's going to be 40% more millionaires in the world by 2030 than there is right now.
Really?
Or like 2040 or 2035. They're projecting that out.
I hope I'm one of
because
them.
there's so many. Yeah, I don't hope. I will be one of them. Like, and you shouldn't hope either.
That's good,
you will be one of them. Because I could get into all that, but all I'll say quickly is I don't believe in having dreams. I believe in taking a dream and turning it into a goal, and then turning those goals into a plan as fast as you can. I'm not going to dive in too more deeply into that, but it's so important because dreams are these unattainable, impossible things that in a perfect world would happen and we think about often. But a goal and then stepping out a goal into a plan all of a sudden makes your dream into this tangible, achievable thing. And that's what I did with photography.
Yeah.
I had this dream, but then I was like, nah, screw having dreams. This is my goal now and it will happen. And here's my plan on how to do it.
I love that mentality. I wanted to go into a little bit on like on-site shooting. Because I feel like we hit a lot on the business and the clients and that stuff, but I wanted to go into actually like the art itself. So I wanted to know, like, When you're planning a shoot, walk me through what are the things you're thinking about, whether it's, location, whether it's timing, whether it's a type of car, what's going through Ben's head pre-production wise.
For sure. I mean, I'm definitely still learning a lot on this. And I was speaking to a dude at a car meet the other day that's been in the photography space a lot. And he does a lot of commercial projects with Porsche, Audi, like big automotive brands. And his work has that really clean commercial look to it. I'm sure you know the look. And he plans everything out to a T. Whereas for me at the moment, it's kind of a lot more like gut feel. If I'm honest, I obviously do go in with a plan, but when I'm choosing cars to shoot with, because again, I don't need to just take on any old shoot because I've got this diverse array of income streams. So when I'm selecting a car to shoot with, it's almost like I get a feeling that, hey, that's the car that I want to shoot. Like it's strange. Like I get a feeling like, oh yeah, that'll be a cool car to shoot, or that's a car that I love and I really want to shoot. And then my next step after obviously deciding on the car is location pairing. That's so important with automotive photography, is pairing the location to the car, to fit the vibe of the car, to fit the color of the car, to fit different, aspects and things about the car, or to just tell a story with it is super important. So I have like a big list of automotive like locations or photography locations around Melbourne and around Victoria where I live. And I've basically found out all of those by just trawling through Instagram and finding car dealerships and other automotive businesses and other automotive content creators and photographers that live in my city and seeing what locations they're using. And then because I know Melbourne quite well and I know Victoria quite well, I'm able to look in the backgrounds of those images and pick out street signs or landmarks or things like that. And then I go on to Google Maps and I like triangulate the position of the location and then save it on Google Maps. So I've got a list of, 150, 200 locations in and around Melbourne and just Victoria in general. So once I select the car, I then go into that repository of locations. And usually, because I've somewhat memorized, or not really, but I somewhat know the locations that I've already got and I've already saved, and I'm able to select and shortlist a few of those. And then depending on how much guidance the client wants from me or whether they're just totally giving me free rein and to be as creative as I want, I'll either send over 4 to 5 location options that I've shortlisted, or I'll just be like, yep, here's where we're shooting, if they're trusting me a lot more. But usually it's like 4 to 5 location options. They select the ones that they like the best. And then if they're kind of going down a direction that I'm not really liking the most, then I'll kind of explain why, hey, this is the one that I'd shortlisted, or these are, the 2 that I'd really wanted to go with. But generally the 4 to 5 that I send over are like ones that I would like to shoot at and suit the car. Then from there, it's about coming up with, like I create little saved folders on my Instagram for each shoot that I do. And these saved folders contain like inspirational images, inspirational pieces of content from other creators that are out there. So angles that I would like to try myself and put my own spin on. And it's basically just something that I can reference during a shoot in case I get stuck for ideas. So most recently, it worked the absolute best for me when Alfa Romeo Australia gave me a Giulia Quadrifoglio for 5 weeks to create content with. And I planned all that content to a T, and I had all these like saved like inspirational images and videos to try and emulate. I knew what I was going in to this thing for. I'd planned the location, all that, made sure it fit the car and also fit what I was trying to film and shoot. And then, yeah, dude, it was just execution. But when I'm out there on the shoot, I start to just by covering my bases, starting wide, getting the overall shots of the car, working my way around in a 360-degree motion. Then I start to play with height, going higher or lower, shooting down or shooting up at different parts of the car. Then can I add an angle or can I add a tilt to my camera to create a little bit more interest? Can I shoot wider and more close in? Can I shoot more compressed so the background appears bigger and closer? Then once I've done that, I'll step in and I'll start doing detail shots and basically repeat the process. elevation changes, higher or lower, angle, focal length, and then from there I might decide to just reference my reference images that I've saved and start to try and create some of those. And that's honestly where I get into this groove and this flow, and I'm sure you felt it as well, where all of these other ideas just start coming along. And it's awesome. So that's how I approach it.
I love your wide shots, because I think not a lot of people do like those big, vast, wide shots of like the car in the actual environment. Like it's all about the car, but no, just do one like big, vast, like landscape shot, and it looks incredible. Do you have like a?
Thanks.
Do you have a specific part of the car you like shooting the most?
No, not really. I just love being out there on a shoot.
Yeah.
And like there's no better feeling. And I remember when I just started photography, like I was shooting a car on a rooftop in Melbourne, and I got there early. I got there before the owner got there. I had my skateboard with me, and it was like a beautiful sunny day in Melbourne. I was on a rooftop in the city, and I was just like skateboarding around this completely deserted rooftop, waiting for this guy to turn up in his R34 GTR. And it just like hit me there about what I was doing and how cool it was and how perfect it just felt. Like it just felt perfect. Like everything in my soul had just aligned, and I'm just like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's
awesome. So I don't have a favorite part of the car. It's just like the experience of any shoot is just the best. Like it's just the best feeling.
You have like almost like an overwhelming sense of gratitude just being on set, and just doing your thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, can't beat it. And then it also like people always ask me as well, oh, what's your favorite photo you've ever shot? What's your favorite photo? And then they're always a little disappointed because I say that I don't have one. Like I don't have a favorite shot. And it stems from when I was studying industrial design at university. I was doing advanced drawing classes to learn about how to draw in 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective, all that sort of stuff. And one day in class, our lecturer made us like spend some time doing a really detailed 3-point perspective, hand-rendered, like marker-rendered drawing. And then once we were all done, she made us scrunch it up and throw it in the bin. And I was like, oh, like I've just spent like 2 hours doing that, and it was like so painful. But we had to do it. And then with all the class kind of like up in arms about that, she then sat us back down and explained like the special thing about what you've just done is not the drawing, it's you. It's the fact that you have made that drawing. It's not the drawing itself. So I got you to scrunch it up and throw it in the bin because you're the person, you're the thing that created it, and you can just do it again. So that's the exact same approach that I take with photography. I'm not precious about any of my images because I think any image is just a sketch that I can just throw away. I don't get attached to an image. I get attached to the experience of just being out on a shoot and being able to express myself. So I always say to people, my favorite image is the next one that I shoot, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. Every time I press that shutter button, that's my favorite photo. That's a great way to look at it, because people almost like idolize the fact of like a favorite photo, and they're like, oh, like when am I going to top this one? Or it's like, no, like it's not about that. It's about you participating in the craft, the art, Absolutely.
So yeah,
and I'm all about doing this for an incredibly long period of time. Like I want to be taking photos for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And like I'm 31 now. I could even be doing it when I'm 81. So give me 50 years, So I'm always trying to stay away from anything that is going to make this thing feel more stressful and less sustainable. And getting overly attached to a godlike image that you fluked one time because the sunset was perfect and a lens flare just hit the lens at the perfect angle and it looks sick and like that's your favorite shot ever. Like, nah, because that's not sustainable. But if your favorite image is just the next one you shoot, then it means that it's just your input that makes this thing better. Same with social media. Every time I post a piece of content, that's my favorite piece of content.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So I wanted to go into some like equipment specific questions because, you know, there's so many offerings out there, you know, on what to shoot on, where, like what lens, what this, what that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like, because it could be very overwhelming for someone, I wanted to kind of like simplify it for someone. What do you, I mean, it's right there, your setup. What is your kind of like run and gun setup you're bringing on to shoots? Lenses, bodies?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm still shooting on APS-C systems just because like that's how I got my start with my Sony a6400. And the reason I decided to go that route was purely just because I didn't know what I was doing, you know, and like I didn't, the idea of spending, I think this was 1,300 Australian dollars. I think it was like 1,399, like 1,400 Australian dollars for the camera. And the idea of, at the time, spending $1,400 on a camera that I didn't think I was going to use, like I wanted to start photography, but I was like, am I going to like it? Am I actually going to use this thing? Is it going to be worth the money? So I didn't think, oh, get an A7 III or whatever. I didn't even know the A7 III existed. So I just went with this after watching a bunch of like YouTube videos and stuff like that. This seemed like a good like budget entry point that would just get me started, the Sony a6400. And then I ended up buying a bunch of lenses, like you can see all the boxes here. And through doing that, it kind of like locked me into the APS-C ecosystem. Obviously, I can use all these on full frame and all the ones in my camera bag on full frame, but you have to use it in APS-C crop mode. Yeah. And that's not something I'd want to do because you spend thousands of dollars on a body and then you just use it in APS-C crop mode. Like, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So to get myself set up on full frame, it's going to be like $6,000 Aussie, you know, to get myself set up. And when I was looking to upgrade, I wanted better video capabilities, in-body image stabilization. I wanted a flip-out screen because I wanted to just shoot more video stuff or have the option to shoot more video. So I ultimately chose to go with the a6700 when that came out because it could shoot 10-bit 422, 4K 60, 4K 120. It's got the tilty flippy screen that I wanted, and it's the same sensor and mount for all the lenses that I've built up. So that's where I'm up to at the moment. I've only had like 2 primary cameras, and then I have like a Canon 70D as well that I picked up secondhand off Facebook Marketplace. But that was just to show people that you can use old gear, you know, it's 10 years old now, and still get great results. And then I've got like a few like Canon lenses as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of Sigmas back there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Sigma lenses. 2, 4, 6, 7, just sitting here. Yeah, plus a couple more that I didn't get the box with. So yeah, man, I shoot on the 30mm was my first upgraded lens from the kit lens, and then I got the 56mm prime from Sigma. What else did I get? I got the 16mm, which I'm shooting on right now, recording the podcast on right now. The 18 to 50 2.8, and then the 10 to 18 2.8, and that basically like covers all my bases. The only thing that I'm missing is like a 70 to 200 APS-C equivalent sort of lens. Yeah, I have this, which is the Sony 18 to 105 f4, but this is an f4 lens. The optics aren't very good. It's a G lens, not a G master. So I don't know, there's a fair bit of distortion and the optical quality is not the best. But for motorsport panning photography, it does work. But I would love Sigma to come out with something that's a 70 to 200 APS-C equivalent. So what would that be? That would be like a 50 to a 100 and something mil lens. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's what I'm rocking at the moment. For GoPros, because I shoot a lot of POV content, I'm shooting on the GoPro Hero 10 vertically on my hat, and then the Hero 11 horizontally on my chest. I don't have any filters for those yet. I don't have any NDs or CPLs for those, but I do want to get some NDs just so I can keep the shutter speed at the proper ratio so that it just looks better. And yeah, what else? I mean, there's a few bits and bobs here and there, but that's really like the whole setup. That's just what I'm running around with.
Yeah, what do you think about like how important do you think megapixel count is? Like really
It's not important
on
at
like
all.
a body?
It's not important at all because unless you're creating prints for a gallery exhibition to be blown up to 2 meters by 3 meters, doesn't matter. If you're just posting
Yeah.
on social media, you can have an 8 megapixel camera and it'll still look super sharp if you nail the focus. That's what people forget. Like, especially with car photography, if you have your camera just set to autofocus, it will bounce around on different parts of the car and it'll grab the roof for half a second, then it'll grab the front grille for
Yep.
half a second, then it'll grab the wheel for half a second. And then you take the photo, the focus point is everywhere, and it looks not sharp, but it's just because you haven't nailed focus. So I shoot in like a flexible spot focus area, gives me a little box on the screen that I can position over the closest part of the
Yep.
car or the part of the car that I want to focus on. And it means that all my images are tack sharp. So when I post them to social media, regardless of megapixel count, they're always tack sharp, dialed in. The edit puts, over the top, making it pop. And then, yeah, the megapixels are only good for two applications. One is obviously prints, if you're going to blow up your images. And then two is if you want the ability to crop in to your images really far
Yep.
and still have them be usable. So for professionals, it makes sense. The A7R5, fantastic camera. You can take a photo and you can be so lazy because you don't even have to frame it right. You just go, huh, and fire away, blah,
It's just,
and then you just crop
Yeah.
in, and then you're good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I find
that
that
thing is a beast.
those pro features, they just help you to get good photos more reliably, but you can still get great photos off budget gear. Like the A6400 is a budget camera. Like it's a beginner budget mirrorless camera, almost the basic of the base for Sony. And I used
Yeah.
this for my first year in business and made over 6 figures in a year just with this, and that was like freelance and digital products, shooting all my content for social media for clients on this thing. And it was awesome. And I love it. I still use it from time to time. And I have the small rig like camera cage on it, which has a silicone grip because I've got quite big hands and this camera is tiny. Like when you get it, the grip's tiny, all that. But this small rig camera cage makes it feel so much more substantial and like pro,
Yep.
And like I shot a full-on like charity, I shot an event called Charity Drive Days, which is like a 3-day track event. And I shot like 10,000 photos a day for 3 days in a row using like high plus burst mode on the 18-105 f4 lens and like trucked this thing around, pouring rain as well because this body's weather sealed. The lenses aren't, but I still managed to get away with it. And yeah, man, like it was just the workhorse. Just doing my first few like motorsport jobs with this as well. So
Where are you storing all those pictures on? 10,000 a day?
well, then
What do you
I
got for storage?
but then I filtered through and like I ended up providing about 2,000 images in total, like 2,000 final images for the guys in total.
Yeah.
So, and then I just deleted the other ones that I didn't use.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I
So-
have like 10 SSD drives. Like 10 little SSD
Yeah.
drives, which I know I need like
I
a
have,
RAID setup and all that. But yeah, I've got 10 of those.
Yeah, these are nice. This is the 4 terabyte one.
Yeah.
It's not that much for like video work because I have like a big, I think it's called Western Digital, the
Yeah,
company.
nice.
They have like a hard drive, but I need like a RAID setup because that thing can fail.
Yeah, me too.
Like
I
at
really
any
need
time.
like a RAID setup that is network based as well so I can access it from anywhere. But,
Yeah.
for right now, I have a little GoPro case that I've repurposed and it allows me to carry all the hard drives and then my little mouse around with me. So if I'm on the go, I just bring my little GoPro case and all my drives are just like in there, and then my mouse and then all the cables to connect it, and that just goes in my bag. So it's super
The
easy.
mouse is essential. You need the mouse. I'm big on the trackpad.
I love the trackpad, and on Macs they're so good. But for some things I need a mouse. You know, like I could be doing this on a tablet, but I haven't bought an iPad yet. Like I do a lot of little hand-drawn elements on some of my image carousels, and that's what I need my mouse for. Just to like do the handwritten, hand-drawn little elements, I just use my mouse. In future, I'll buy an iPad or something and just sketch them on. But for now, I just do everything with a mouse. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, dude.
So with in regards to when you edit pictures, I wanted to know like how do you know you're done editing a picture? Like you're like, okay, this looks good. Next, is there like a certain, like moment, or is it kind of just like I'm just gonna be here like tweaking it for hours, so like I need to like just move on? Or do you have like a moment where you're like, that's you know what, this one's done?
Yeah, I mean, I try to not push my images too far. Like I try to keep the edits fairly minimal. And certainly as I've gotten more experienced with automotive photography and photo editing, my edits have gotten more and more and more and more minimal, like less hard touch, more light touch, you know? And like when I look at people's work, like Alex Penfold, he has this quality where it doesn't even look like he's edited the photo, but he has. But it's so natural looking and just perfect looking that, it barely looks like it's edited. But you can tell that he's been very choiceful and selective with how he does what he does. If he put out a preset pack and editing tutorial tomorrow, I'd buy it. Like if he put it out at $999, I'd buy it. Like he's missing a big opportunity, but he's not into social media, digital products like I am. He's full on freelance. But man, if he decided to put out some sort of learning resource where he could teach people how he does what he does, I would be right in there. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to work my ass off for the next decade to get as good as him, and then I'm just going to teach everybody what I learned. So as soon as I know it, everyone will know it. But yeah, man, like I basically start with refining one image in the set. I go through, I shortlist all the images that I want to obviously be the finals. Then I go through and I crop every single image first, because I always like to be able to go through the history panel in Lightroom and skip back and then be able to export the before photo for my content. And when you have crops bouncing around, when you do the before and after and you've changed the crop substantially, it looks really bad. So I go through, apply all my crops, and then I start with that first image and I use my presets. So I go through all my presets, see which one suits it the best, and then just tweak from there. So tweak the colors, tweak the effects that I've added on, dehaze, clarity, texture, tweak, the color calibration, the color panels, the amount of grain, the shadows and highlights and blacks and whites and exposure and white balance and all that. And then the key part is masking. So going through, and all the masks are already built into my presets, so they automatically apply, but they do take some refinement on every single shot. So once I get the basic adjustments how I want, then I'll go in and tweak the masks. And the subject mask, I'll increase or reduce the shadows, reduce the highlights to just pull back a little bit more detail in the body work of the car, paint work of the car. Get that dialed in how I want. And then it's a case of just tweaking the linear gradients that I've positioned around the image to pull focus towards the subject and accentuate the light source of the image. And after that, I'll do my little inverted radial gradient that I just do very minimally just to pull a little subtle vignette. I never use the vignette slider. I just use an inverted radial gradient just to pull focus slightly, because I can be a lot more selective with how that works. And then the good old sync settings button, dude. So I just select all the images, hit sync settings, copies it across the entire gallery, and then I go through one at a time, tweak exposure and tweak masking, and then I'm done. And then I export from Lightroom, and then I'll jump into Photoshop for image cleanup, because using healing is a lot faster in Photoshop than it is in Lightroom. Lightroom's so laggy to be doing the healing tool in Lightroom.
Yeah.
And the selections that it makes to sample from, it's so dumb. Like, Lightroom is so dumb. You know, whereas you open up...
I totally agree.
Yeah, and you open up the images in Photoshop, and it's like so fast, and bang, 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 and then you just export it, and then I save over the exported image. And that's basically the workflow. So, yeah, man, it works for me.
It's almost like they have to do that so that you use Photoshop.
Well, I mean,
you know, they can't make Lightroom 2 OP.
Yeah, but then I was speaking to that dude that I met at a car event, and he was saying he spends 80% of his time in Photoshop. So, like, commercial, full-on professional automotive photographers, they spend most of the time image retouching in Photoshop, which I have no idea how to do yet. And again, if I could find someone that would put out a freaking course about it, I would buy it. But they don't, because they're too busy just taking the photos. You know?
Make your courses.
Yeah, please make your courses, because I will buy them, and so will other people. Like, make it $4.99.
Here's my money.
Yeah, like, make it $499 USD. I'll buy it.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I know they're not gatekeeping on purpose, but I feel like you just do the industry of photography a disservice by not giving people the opportunity to learn what you know. You know, because and just making everyone like what I said at the start of this, let's get better together, making everyone better. Yes, it might be locked behind a paywall, but since when should you not pay for that sort of skill acquisition that's taken someone a decade to learn? Yeah. And like, I spent $70,000 at uni for my freaking crap degree that I don't even use, and it's like sitting right there. Like up there, and I don't even use it. It's a nice paperweight, and I spent 70 grand for that. You know?
Yeah.
But like, you're telling me that I wouldn't spend $4.99 on a little like editing course that will teach me how to do commercial grade like photo editing in Photoshop, and then I can start offering that service to my dealership clients and up the price of my services and make way more money than what I just spent on the cost of the course. Like, bro, it's a no-brainer. So anyway, I'm all about independent skill acquisition, like not relying on an education system to teach you, but just going out there, learning from people that are out there doing it. And yes, you're going to have to pay, but you have to pay for everything in this world. In some way or another. But the difference is you bought it because you wanted to buy it. You're getting into it knowing exactly what you want to get out of it. Whereas at uni, I'm sure you've had subjects that you just hate. And like, you just don't want to be there, you know?
Yeah, I got a class for geology tomorrow morning.
What are you doing learning about geology and marketing?
We're learning about rocks.
Yeah.
It's a required course. It's like a distribution, whatever. It's like pain in the ass.
Yeah, I had a course where I had a unit where I had to learn all about the different types of plastics, because this was for industrial design, and as designers we have to be able to specify different sorts of materials for when we're designing products. And I remember I had to write an entire essay, like 5,000 word essay, about PA6, nylon 6, because we were all allocated different plastics to write an assignment about and research and learn about. And this was the one that I got, PA6, nylon 6. The only cool part about it was it's the plastic that they use for like weapons. That was the cool part about it, like handguns and rifles and stuff. So that was like the coolest part of that materials class for me, but the rest of it was a bore. The lecturer he'd been there for like 85 years, you know, or it felt like that. hadn't seen the industry. Hadn't seen the industry in the equivalent of my entire lifetime, and had just been at the uni teaching the same class year on year. Anyway.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, listen. Again, just the slow burn of uni, but.
Indeed.
Well, I wanted to wrap up with some pretty important questions to ask you before we part ways. I think we've touched on a lot of valuable points, whether it's the business side, the shooting side, the equipment side, all that good stuff, switching to a full-time content creation role.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start off by asking you the biggest piece of feedback that you've received that's helped you the most. And it could be about anything related to our discussion.
Man, again, I'm kind of going to go against the grain here because I don't believe in seeking feedback at all. And I have never once sought feedback from anyone in my entire photography journey or social media journey, because I believe that everyone's out here on their own journey. And that's not to say that, you won't improve over time without feedback. You absolutely will. But for me, it was about just doing the work. Like, I didn't have time to stop and ask for people's opinions on my work because I was moving too quickly to care. Does that make sense? Like, when you're shooting every single week, editing photos every single day, posting every single day, analyzing what you did well, what you didn't do well, seeing how you stack up to the likes of Alex Penfold and North Borders and going, hey, that's the quality that I aspire to. And then the next week, making some subtle tweaks and subtle adjustments every single week, then inevitably you just get better. I didn't seek anyone's feedback because I didn't have time to, because I was too busy focusing on my own journey. And what that meant for me is that I didn't have anyone's bad habits corrupt me. I didn't have anyone's opinions corrupt me. I just became who I was meant to be as a photographer and as a creative without the input of other people. Because there's a phrase that I love, which is, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.
Yep.
And if you listen to too many opinions, then are those photos you just shot and edited really yours? Or do they have a flavor of someone else potentially contaminating? And you ask one friend and they give you one answer. You ask the next friend about the same topic and they give you a different answer, and all of a sudden you have conflicting information. You're sitting there wondering, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? Whereas if you just got your head down and did the work and focused on input and action and analyzing what you did well and didn't do well and then improving every week, then you just get better. You don't need people's feedback in a subjective industry. Like, photography and videography is an art form. We have to remember, this is art. There is no recipe, there is no formula, there is no set rules. And those people that say that there are rules, those rules need to be broken, because that's when amazing things happen. And I think feedback, quote unquote, feedback in a subjective industry can hinder people from becoming their true selves, their true creative selves, and finding their 100% unique voice.
I like that a lot. I didn't expect that to be an answer, but that's...
No, and a lot of people don't like that train of thought because they're just like, what, you never asked for feedback once? And I'm like, no, because I just took action, because I didn't sit there contemplating and being paralyzed and being like, oh, does this person think my work is good? Oh, can you rate my photos? No, bro. Like, I'm not going to rate your photos. Just take more photos, bro. Like, you don't need my opinion. My opinion does not matter, because you ask me, I'll give you an opinion. You ask the next person, they'll give you theirs. Like, it doesn't matter. So just focus on doing the work, and then it allows this process of learning and growing and developing your skill set to be a lot more sustainable, like I talked about before, being sustainable, but also a lot more enjoyable, because, you're not out here comparing yourself to others. I mean, I do compare myself to others, but not in a negative way, sort of thing. But yeah, man, I don't subscribe to the whole feedback rule. And people that do want feedback, fair play to you. But I also feel like if you sit down and you're honest with yourself, I feel like when you're seeking feedback and your work is, or you're proud of what you've produced, then it's almost like a little bit of ego polishing and compliment fishing, because you're like, oh, can you rate my work? And like your work's good. So then you send it to someone, oh, can you rate my work? And they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then you feel all fuzzy inside and you feel all great, so you're just polishing your ego. and getting some feedback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're great, mate. You're great. It's like, no, just keep going. Just don't stop. You don't have time to ask for feedback because you should be shooting and you should be editing and you should be posting. You don't have time. So
I love that.
it's a very controversial opinion though. Anyone that I have shared it with is always like a little bit annoyed. So
No, it's a whole 180 approach.
Yeah.
And I'm open to all different ways of thinking in this industry. So I honestly really like that, and I see how that can be applied even to like my own work with video, because there's even, you know, more things you could talk about with video. Oh, the angle, the audio here. I'm like, you know, like let it be my authentic, you know, piece.
yeah,
You know?
it's like
'Cause
people that
without it,
yeah, but
it's
recently someone, like I'm seeing it a lot in content recently where people are like shooting video at completely outrageous shutter speeds. They're not using the 180 rule. Like they're just shooting at outrageous shutter speeds and doing shutter drags and like creating this amazing like almost stop motion footage that they're infusing into their edits. Like that originated from like one person. I don't know who it was, but some person decided, fuck the 180 rule. I'm just going to set my shutter speed at like 1/1200 of a second and shoot 60 FPS and just see what happens. You know? And like, if people were asking for feedback, they would have been like, okay, so you need to make sure your shutter speed is double your frame rate. It's like, shut up, bro. Like anyone with an internet connection can figure that out. Like, just shut up.
yeah.
You know? Like, let people experiment. Let people create and let people like, I don't know, not feel that sort of stress and pressure of always seeking validation from people. Like, screw validation. You don't need validation.
Yeah.
In this creative space, in the photography space, videography world, anything like that, it's all subjective. And what's most important is you give yourself the opportunity to allow your style to find you. So lots of people are like, oh, I got to find my style. But that's also, I don't agree with that either. You do the work and your style will find you. That's the best thing you can do. Do the work and your style will find you. That's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happened to countless photographers and creatives before me. And that doesn't come about through the ego polishing feedback loop.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, man, I'm sorry for the rant, but I'm very passionate about that topic because lots of people use that as paralysis. They wait for people's opinions and they stop their progression dead in its tracks because they won't go out and do another shoot until they get someone's thoughts. It's like, nah, just keep going.
Keep going. I love it.
Yeah.
Where do you see your current business setup shifting in the next like 5 years? What's like the outlook? Where do you want to end up?
So for 5 years, it's probably going to be a lot more of the same that I'm doing at the moment. So I want to continue to grow my workshop so that it becomes like a much more established sort of curriculum. But like with anything, you can't go from 0 to 100 immediately. You have to go from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. And that's what I'm up to at the moment. So like I'm just making incremental improvements to each cohort that I put out. But ultimately in the next 5 years, I want to have this incredibly robust methodology that can basically get people from, you know, just starting with photography and content creation to making it their full-time living in 6 to 12 months. Like that's the sort of time frame and that's the sort of guidance that I need. That's the sort of guidance I want to give, but it's always going to be that kind of time scale of 6 to 12 months to get there because there is always this component of you just have to eat it, you know, for like 6 months, 12 months. So that's a big component. I would also love to, you know, get into more long form. That's going to be a big priority next year and moving forward, is really trying to hit long form hard and just dial in how I want to appear on that platform in a meaningful sort of way, because I really owe my subscribers over there that. Like I owe them that content because they've supported me on the shorts. You know, 180,000 of them are just sitting there. And like, I feel this weight on me of like, I need to give back to that investment. you know, because like you can see the plaque behind me, like I'm monetized on YouTube. I'm making, you know, decent money every month through the partner program, just through shorts. And yeah, obviously, if I nail long form, the money will be even greater, but that's not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is just so that I can build a better connection with people. So that's the other one. And then also I'd love to, the final thing in the next 5 years, I'd love to shift over from just the photography piece and just be more about automotive lifestyle, automotive experience. I use my skill for photography and for capturing video as a delivery mechanism to share amazing automotive experiences, obviously mixed in with the educational component of teaching people how I do it. So I don't know if you follow Cars with Luke on YouTube, but he's like my guiding light at the moment. So Alex Penfold is my guiding light for photos, and Cars with Luke is my guiding light for automotive content, long form content on YouTube. And that's what the Giulio Quadrifoglio video was. It was a Cars with Luke-esque video. It was my first attempt at it. So I want to do more with that. I want to work with every major automotive brand, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati, like it, you know, as big as I can go, and just have that as like an extra pillar that Life Through Optics is, because the name is so interchangeable. Life Through Optics is my life through the lens of a camera. That's what the name means. So it can be really anything that I want. And I'd love to kind of also add in different sorts of content as well. Like I'm big into the gym as well. I've just got back into lifting after like,
nice.
You know, sending it with photography and content creation for the longest time. So I really neglected my health, but now I'm back into it. So I'd love to create another pillar that is a little bit of that kind of fitness sort of content, but I need to figure out how I want it to fit in. But I just think it's so important. Entrepreneurship, you know, running your own business, but being fit, being healthy, you know, developing your mindset, like all of these different things are going to come together and be what Life Through Optics is. So that's the next 5 years. And then 10 years, ultimately, I want to have a physical location that is the Life Through Optics Creator HQ or something like that. And it's basically going to be like a car storage facility / co-working space where all photographers can come together. You can work out of there. You can sign up for like a monthly membership and you get access to the place and you can work out of there. You can collaborate with other photographers, videographers. Hopefully a lot of the cars that are in storage there are actually mine. They're like part of my car collection. And I want to have this scheme set up so that photographers can come in, they can put their name down on a registry and they can basically pick from any one of my cars and take it out and shoot it. Whether they drive it themselves or one of my staff members, whatever, drives it out. This is 10 years away, by the way, okay? So this is next level stuff. But that's where my head's at. Like I want Life Through Optics to also be a physical place as well as an online brand in the next decade.
That's awesome. That's really ambitious, and I'm sure you can reach it. Just sticking to your gut and staying consistent with all your initiatives. So I like that. I like that a lot.
There we go. It scares me, but goals should scare you.
They should.
Yeah.
Last thing, where can we find you on social media, just for anyone?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So Instagram, I'm at LifeThroughOptics_, and then I'm at LifeThroughOptics on everything else. And yeah, lots more coming. Lots more educational stuff, photography, videography, cars, and just that whole vibe. That's what I'm all about. So
awesome.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
This has been a pleasure. I mean, I've learned so much from you already just shooting it, and I'm sure once this is out, people will have the opportunity to listen and, you know, further indulge in what the podcast has to offer. If you guys liked this episode, you guys can watch the 2 previous ones. I had a videographer on for episode 2 and a photographer on for episode 1. So trying to get a vast, you know, palette of different people in the industry. So yeah, guys, stay tuned for further episodes. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please give the show a good rating. And yeah, I'm always open to feedback. So guys, appreciate it. Ben, appreciate you for spending the time here with me today. And yeah, man.
It's been a pleasure, dude. Thanks so much for having me, man. Appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Awesome. We'll see you on the next episode, guys.
See you guys.